Hey guys, it is Tori here, and I'm so excited to be back filming for you guys again. It is officially summer vacation. I have like 9 weeks of just work and YouTube, hopefully, and I'm really excited to be back. I also want to say a really quick thank you to the people that were commenting, saying that they were so excited I was making videos again and stuff. That really means a lot to me, and you know, I didn't even think people would notice, so I really appreciate those comments. So today I'm going to be doing my riding story, which somebody did ask me to film on one of my previous videos. And I'm really excited to be filming this because I have quite the interesting riding story. It involves a lot of different people, a lot of different barns, a lot of different horses. So I'm excited to share it with you guys today. So I'm going to start off with kind of like how I was really first introduced to horses. So probably at about age 2. I had grown up with really close family friends, and there was 2 sisters, and they both lived on horse farms and they both had horses. One of them actually bred quarter horses for racing. She still does. And then the other one just had like 2 or 3 quarter horses just that she rides for pleasure. So I was around them quite a bit. I have pictures of me like sitting on top of them when I was tiny. And they were just, it was so nice to have those farms really close to me, and I was able to go there kind of whenever I wanted. So that's when I was first sort of introduced to horses, and I actually did take a couple lessons with one of my, I call them my aunts even though they're not related to me. I was able to take a couple lessons on one of their horses for a little while, like when I was maybe 3. So they weren't, you know, obviously lessons, I wasn't really doing anything. But I did that, and that was kind of the first time I actually started riding, but I was so young, like I wasn't really riding. And then I started riding at a local sort of hunter-jumper stable really close to my house when I was, I want to say about 6 or 7, which is pretty young to start riding, really. I mean, I wouldn't say it was too young, but I was just in kind of like a stage where like I wanted to do so much more, but I wasn't physically capable because of like my size and my strength and things like that. So I just rode the schoolies there. I rode like once a week just throughout like the warmer months with a really close friend of mine. And I'm pretty sure the whole time I was there, I never left like the lunge line or the lead rope, and I was there for over a year. So that was kind of ridiculous if I look back on it now, but that's fine. I mean, I was never hurt or anything, which is probably a good thing. I did have my first fall there. I was riding this horse named Tyrone, and I think I was actually just had mounted and I was standing still, and one of the other girls in the lesson was like being helped as she got on her horse, and a plastic bag flew through the back of the arena, and Tyrone freaked out and bucked, or I think he reared or bucked or something, and because you know, when you're 7 years old, you're what, like 50 pounds? I went flying across the arena and landed face down in the dirt. And I remember my mom freaking out and being like, "You're never doing this again." And I'm pretty sure I went back the next week and rode the same horse and it was fine. But so that was my first fall, which was kind of a traumatizing experience, but yeah, I'm fine. So I rode there for about a year and a half, I would say, and it was great. But like I said, I was still so young that I couldn't really do much. So I took a break for probably about 3 years. And I started up again when I was probably about 9, maybe 10, at a different place that was quite a bit further from my house, but had been recommended by a friend of mine who still rides there to this day. And it was great. I rode a little white pony named Percy, and then another little chestnut pony named Cricket. And they were really fun horses, a really great coach, a beautiful facility. They had like 15 or 20 horses. It was fairly small, but they did do like regular lessons, and it was a really nice spot. It was the kind of the place where like I really started riding. I learned my posting trot from that trainer. I think I also, fun fact is that I didn't canter until I was like technically about 6 or 7 years into riding, which is insane, but I'll explain that later. So I did quite a bit there. I never really jumped or anything, I don't think. I also did like a birthday party there, and it was a really fun place, and I still really love the place. I go back all the time. So I was there for probably, again, like just over a year or so. So this brings me to being like 11 or 12. And I started looking for a summer horse camp. So I actually went to, or wasn't a summer horse camp, it was a March break horse camp. And I found out about this one at this little tiny barn that like didn't even really do lessons. They actually were breeders of Belgian horses. So they had like Belgian crosses and these big Belgians, and they were really cool. And it was just this little tiny facility, and they did a March break camp. So I did a couple lessons leading up to the camp. Then I did the March break camp. We did like vaulting. I remember I trotted over my first cross rail, and I could, came home being like, Mom, we jumped today. I mean, it's obviously not actually jumping, but I did my first jumps there. I rode 2 different horses. One was like I'm pretty sure he was a quarter horse named Moon, who's Palomino, who's very cute. And then I rode a rescued Morgan cross mare, I believe, named Cody, and she was incredible. I loved her. I would love to go ride her again. So those are kind of the horses I rode there. Like we said, we did the camp. I actually fell off vaulting. I was sitting backwards, and I had like my arms linked with my friend behind me. And we were really supposed to be walking around, and Jojo, this horse, started trotting, and I went flying off his butt face first. So that was fun. That was probably the worst fall I've ever had, quite honestly. And we did that camp. I did a couple lessons there for probably like 4 or 5 months. And it was really fun. And then that following summer, I decided to do a horse camp in the summer as well. So that was at a place that I had quite a few friends that like rode at / worked at. And my mom had known the owners from like high school or something. So I did a camp there, and I'm still kind of involved with that barn. I volunteer there, kind of like they call me if they need me, because they run summer camps all summer. They have an insane lesson schedule. They have like 100 and something kids that take lessons there. They have like 90 horses. It's ridiculous. But anyway, so I'm still involved with that barn quite a bit. I have a really close friend who boards her horse there, and it was a great place. They had an amazing summer camp. I rode a horse named Dakota there. He was such a sweetheart. They still have him. He's like 20 something now. And I had really good experiences. I actually did that camp for quite a few years. Following that summer at camp, I went to another smaller barn that was just kind of like a private facility where like some older owners, and they just had like a really nice boarding facility, but they did have like an indoor and everything. And then they had a trainer who would come in, and she just had like 6 or 7 students, 2 of which were me and my friend. And it was so nice. We had these really cute little halflinger geldings that we rode, Mickey and Dallas. And they were such sweet little horses. I absolutely loved them. And that was where I first cantered. So if you think I started riding, by this point I was probably at least 12. Maybe even, yeah, I would have been 12, because I've been at the barn I'm at now for 3 years. So yeah, I would have been 12 years old. So I started riding when I was like 6, and it took me till I was 12 to canter. And I don't even think I was really like a timid rider. I think it's just because I bounced around so much that I was never really riding anywhere consistently enough to like get to that point. So I had my first canter ever on Dallas, this little tiny halflinger pony who I still love. And I actually only rode there for about 4 or 5 months before they actually shut down their lesson program, which was kind of discouraging to someone who had like just kind of found a place where like I felt like I was improving, and my friend and I were having so much fun. So we rode there for that 3 or 4 months, and then we kind of were like, okay, the 2 of us are going to find a barn to like settle down, because as you can tell, it's been this crazy journey of like hopping from barn to barn and trainer to trainer and horse to horse, and it just kind of was chaotic, and we never really felt like we could like be somewhere long enough to really see improvement. So we started looking at barns. We went on a couple tours. We went to one place and like knew right away that it was not what we wanted. And I think we went to like maybe 2 others, and then we went to the barn I'm at now, which I really can't say enough about. It is just like, I'm never leaving, let's say that. So we went in, it was me and my friend Lexi, and we went in saying like, you know, here's our level, we're looking to take, you know, semi-private lessons, like just the 2 of us, once a week, here's how much we've ridden, blah, blah, blah. And they actually said, we only do private lessons. So that almost made us turn around and walk out of there, but I just had this weird, like, I really want to check this place out. Like, the facility was so incredible. First of all, it was also an eventing barn, which is something I had never been to. All the other barns I'd been to had all been hunter jumper type barns, but eventing was something that I've always kind of looked at and thought, like, it seems kind of more my thing. Specifically dressage seems more my thing, which it has turned out to be. But that just really kind of intrigued me, and the facility was so incredible. The horses were so incredible. I loved the trainer, and I just loved the feel of it. So we booked a lesson where each of us just went right after each other. So like I had my 45-minute private lesson, and then Lexi had her 45-minute private lesson because we couldn't ride together. The other reason they only do private lessons is they don't really have school horses. So my trainer himself owns, you know, his competitive horses, and then he just leases out a few horses to use for lessons. So at that point he only had 2. At one point he then had 3, and now he only has 2 again, really. Well, technically right now he doesn't have any. Right now we really don't have any school horses. Because one of ours just passed away. She was 23 or something, and she was like just a lesson horse. But the 2 we're using for lessons right now are actually boarders horses that my trainer is using for lessons and like paying the boarders to use, you know what I mean. So we went to this place, we started doing these kind of private little lessons one after the other, and I was really enjoying it. I was riding a horse named Brie, which if you guys know, if you're Canadian, you know the Canadian Olympic eventing team. Jessica Phoenix, who rides for Canada, actually owned this horse when she was like 17. So, and this is the one who just passed away, unfortunately, but she was this little like 16-hand chestnut Arab thoroughbred mare named Breezen. And she was a absolutely fantastic horse. She was very grumpy, very marish, did not like people at all, hated being groomed, all that kind of stuff, but she was such a phenomenal ride. She taught so many of us so much, and we were so lucky to have her in our barn for so long. But she evented up to like preliminary level with Jessica, and then she was bought by someone else and then leased by my trainer to use for lessons. So I rode her for probably about 1.5 years. And then I started riding Kensington, who you guys know I ride now. So I do not own Kensington. I probably have referred to him as like my horse in several videos, but like he is not mine in any way. It's just easier than saying like the horse I take lessons on, instead I just say my horse because, you know, you guys kind of get the idea. So I started riding him after about 1.5 years with his trainer, and I went from like barely cantering to feeling so comfortable jumping a course in like less than 1 year, which a lot of people would think is a long time, but for me, and having ridden for so long and never really improving, that was amazing. So I never showed until last summer, and this will be 3 years this fall at this new barn. So when I got there, like I said, I rode Brie for about 1.5 years. Then I rode this other horse named Patty for only about 4 or 5 months. She wasn't there for very long. And she was really incredible. I really liked her as well. And then I started riding Kensington. So Kensington is the horse I ride now. If you don't know what he looks like, I'll insert a picture here somewhere, because I have 1,000. And he is a little he's a Heinz 57 gelding, which means he is a Dutch warm blood, Irish thoroughbred, Hanoverian, something else cross. So he's kind of a crazy mix of things. He's very cute. He's a very dark dapple gray. He's very spunky and he's a brat, but I absolutely love him. So I've been riding him for about 1.5 years. I started riding him and just because it was like, oh, let's switch it up and see how it goes. He was so hard to ride to begin with because he's so behind the leg. He's a very lazy horse. So I started riding him. He was very difficult. I kind of didn't like him at all because I couldn't ever really get him going. But I kept going, and 1.5 years later I'm actually having to slow him down. I mean, there's been some spur adjustments and things like that that have definitely made a difference, but he's a pretty incredible little horse. And I now compete. Right now we're just competing in what are called combined tests, so it's just a show with dressage and stadium. There's no cross country because he actually has a lung condition called equine respiratory disease, which means he only uses about 65 to 70% of his lungs. So when it gets humid or gets hot or anything like that, his breathing becomes, you know, really impaired and it's really hard for him. So cross country is something that he doesn't really have the stamina or the ability to, you know, to do a full course. So we might one day make it to that, I don't really know, but we're having a lot of fun together, and that is kind of how I got to where I am today. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Also, I wanted to mention that I'm going to be doing a Q&A if you guys want to see that. So please leave your questions down below in this video. I will check back from previous videos as well to get some questions from there. Also, if you have video requests, leave them down below as always. I'm always happy to make the videos that you guys want to see. I'm so happy to be back. I'm really excited to make videos again for you guys, and I will see you in my next one.